Some crimes don't end, they just go quiet. Photos curl, case numbers fade, detectives retire, but patterns don't retire. They wait in road noise, in the hum of fluorescent lights, in the thunk of a file drawer that never shuts. Tonight we're driving three long shadows. First, a letter writer who turned murder into a performance, the Zodiac, a crosshair for a logo, ciphers for applause, a city conscripted into his act. Not just bodies, but correspondence, not just scenes, but an audience. If terror is theater, he understood the box office. Then a highway ghost with a stopwatch, the I-70 Killer, small shops, solo clerks, a bell over the door that rings once and never again. 29 days of precision, then silence that felt designed. Interstates are machines for forgetting. He learned how to use that. And west of Albuquerque, the desert that coughed up a list, 11 women and an unborn child. The West Mesa bone collector. Sand hides bodies. Time erases answers, but names refuse to blow away. When the wind runs out of excuses, evidence starts to sound like memory. This isn't a seance. It's an inventory of what remains. Letters that still breathe, a route that still hums, a mesa that still holds heat after dark. We'll walk the scenes, yes, but mostly we'll sit with the silences they left behind and ask the question every open file asks back. Who is missing from the story? Take a breath, kill the lights, let the map glow. The first mark on the board is a crosshair. He didn't just kill, he published. A crosshair sketched like a company logo, a voice that talked to a city through the morning paper, turning editors into messengers and readers into participants. Between December 1968 and October 1969, a rough circle of scenes formed around the San Francisco Bay. Teenagers parked on Lake Herman Road under a winter sky. A summer ambush at Blue Rock Springs. The hiss of July heat broken by gunfire, a daylight attack at Lake Berryessa, a hand-stitched hood and a knife flashing beside rippling water, a taxicab at Washington and Cherry, blood on vinyl and a torn square of shirt later mailed as proof. The official count is small and heavy, at least 5 dead, 2 survivors, yet the shadow he cast was engineered to be larger than the facts that made it. The letters were the engine. Columns of symbols clipped and pasted, ciphers sewn like a second crime into the first. Threats that bent everyday routines. School buses, suddenly a coin flip for parents. Commuters reading over shoulders, not for baseball scores, but for a voice promising arithmetic. More deaths, more fame, more ink. He turned police and press into a single audience, then worked the crowd. Writers know this physics better than most. The more you answer a taunt, the more it feels like a conversation. He used that to pace himself. Kill, write, wait, and always, always keep the crosshair in the frame. When the first cipher, the 408, fell to a schoolteacher and his wife at a kitchen table, the message was posture more than revelation. The longer cipher, the notorious 340, sat like a locked door for half a century while people aged around it. In 2020, 3 civilian codebreakers finally solved it with a cocktail of intuition and compute. Not a confession, just another performance, bragging about fearlessness, recentering the spectacle, reminding everyone that the name was still a blank line. A solved code doesn't solve a case. The letters were never meant to close anything. They were designed to keep it open. Walk the scenes in order and the rhythm becomes clear. Lake Herman Road. The abrupt quiet of winter air, headlights stilled, a geometry of casings that would be retold for decades. Blue Rock Springs, the phone call afterward, a calm voice that sounded like a man already halfway to becoming a headline. Lake Berryessa, not just violence, but theater, a costume, a script scrawled on a car door, a knife used like punctuation. Presidio Heights, a city street where a taxi stopped moving, a killer stepped out, and the case stepped into the heartbeat of a metropolis. Each location different, the tone identical, calculated, curated, public. Publicness was the weapon. He wanted to be feared and scheduled, to occupy space on the morning page and the evening broadcast, to be the answer to, "Did you see?" at water coolers and kitchen sinks, Police traded memos like lifelines. Labs handled envelopes and stamps that might have been licked by the same mouth that held a knife, or by someone else entirely. DNA is miracle and tease. Trace on old paper can be degraded, mixed, or touched so often, the signal sounds like noise. Hope remains, because hope is the stubborn muscle in any cold case. But if you start with theater, you end with interpretation. Suspects became their own literature. Boots, handwriting, composites that almost click. The public loves a shortlist. Investigators love evidence. Files thicken, retirements accumulate. 100 routes get chased that end in cul-de-sacs where neighbors water lawns and nod. Meanwhile, the letters still function, even in reprint. Every anniversary resurrects the crosshair. Every documentary reenacts the walk from the cab. Every cipher video replays the sneer of a man declaring himself safe from consequence. His best trick wasn't a code or a costume. It was crowd management. He conscripted a city, then taught it to repeat him. There's a quieter version where the survivors matter more than the letters. A boy who lived at Blue Rock Springs never stops parsing a voice on the phone. A woman at Lake Berryessa watches hands move, real human hands, while a hood tries to make them mean something else. Families grieve. New readers learn the logo before they learn the names. Fascination isn't a crime. Forgetting the people is. Why the file stays open. Folders and latent prints stored in climate-controlled rooms, photographs memorized by their own paper, tip indexes that climb past the century mark. Noise, earnestness, and sometimes a clean fit that makes a detective lean forward. Maybe the key is glued DNA. Maybe it's a modern lab separating signals. Maybe it's a kitchen table confession that finally outweighs the secret. Cold cases end with luck, work, or both. The counterspell to the performance is boring and patient and real. Grind, retest, re-interview. Until a name fits the evidence like a key that always belonged to that lock, the crosshair remains a logo without a company, and the Bay learns again how to live with a ghost in the paper. Spring 1992. A neat band of Midwestern cities strung along Interstate 70 wakes to a pattern like someone practicing a terrible instrument. The same notes, the same pauses, the same final wrong silence. Small specialty shops, clerks working alone. A bell that rings once and never again. Little or no cash gone. No time for a fight. Just brass on tile and a body out of sight. Back rooms, short halls, a quiet place where the world rearranges without witnesses. It lasts 29 days. Then the metronome stops. No letter, no manifesto. Only a route and faces left behind. Victims were mostly young, petite women with dark hair in low-traffic stores. Bridal wear, gifts, shoes. Businesses designed for one-on-one service and an open door. One victim was a man, likely mistaken for a woman from behind. Locations clustered near the interstate and the clock, quiet after lunch just before closing, when a door chime wouldn't draw a crowd. The pattern whispered preference, isolation, predictable layouts, counters that offered trust instead of cover. Ballistics knit the states together. A .22 semi-automatic. Witnesses described an Uzi-style silhouette. Detectives landed on two rarities that fit: the Tech 22 Scorpion or the Irma ET-22. The ammo, common .22 CCI. The surprise lived on the casings. Traces of jeweler's rouge, a polishing compound. Like someone buffed the workings to an anxious shine. A small, unnerving detail. Someone cared how the machine felt in the hand. Build the road montage. April 8th, Indianapolis, Payless, manager alone. April 11th, Wichita, bridal shop, 2 women, a male customer waved off by a gunman who acts like he's rescheduling. April 27th, Terry Oat, ceramics, male clerk shot from behind. May 3rd, St. Charles, boot shop, witness remembers the last face. May 7th, Raytown, gift store beside a video shop, pop. Then a man walking uphill toward the interstate, as if leaving through a side exit. Each scene different, each the same. The composite. Thin white male, mid-20s to mid-30s then. Sandy to reddish hair, long face, high forehead, lazy eyelids. Later, age-progressed sketches dragged the face through decades to ask the audience a simple question. Do the bones ring a bell even if the hairline doesn't? If he's alive, he's 50s, 70s now. A neighbor who parks facing out, who dislikes the sound a door chime makes in an empty store. Texas complicates the chorus. In 93-94, Fort Worth, Arlington, Houston. 2 clerks dead, 1 surviving after a misfire on the second shot. Same staging, same approach. But Ballistics set a different barrel. Could the killer swap guns and keep the habit? Yes. Could a copycat wear the pattern like a jacket? Also yes. The case keeps both answers on the shelf. There's 2001 too. Terry Hode again. A liquor store, back room, single headshot. Security video this time. A suspect of interest, but interest isn't evidence. And geography mocks us. 7 blocks from the 92 ceramic shop, a reminder that some routes carve grooves you can't see. Design is what makes this feel modern. Interstates are machines for forgetting. They pour people past the places where they don't live. Every exit is a decision to care. The killer chose businesses that run on trust. Solo clerks, specialty stock, door chimes designed to make you smile. He exploited friendliness and highway indifference. Come in, ask a question, close the distance, aim for the back of the head. Clinical, practiced, efficient. Robbery appears in reports because registers exist. The open secret is that robbery wasn't the point. The point was the act and the exit. What breaks this quiet now? Work and luck plus science. Toolmark networks treat casings like fingerprints. Preserved stamps and paper might carry DNA. Modern labs can separate from decades of handling. An age-progressed composite could ping the right memory. Sometimes it's smaller. A kitchen table confession where an old relative says a name the right way and someone younger decides silence isn't worth the wait. Until then, the line stays drawn. Thin, taut, humming across 3 states and 30 years, waiting for one true name to cut it. February 2009. A woman walking her dog on Albuquerque's West Mesa notices a bone in the dust, a shape the eye files under cow until the mind refuses. She texts a photo to her sister, a nurse. The reply lands like a changed weather report. Human. By sundown, the ground is a crime scene. In the days that follow, searchers trade backhoes for brushes. Flags multiply. The Mesa gives up a count. 11 women and an unborn child. Shallow graves in an undeveloped stretch off 118th Street SW. The largest homicide investigation in the city's history. 16 years later, the killer has no name. Most victims vanished, 2001 to 2005. Mostly young Latinas navigating addiction, survival sex work, and a city that looked past them until the sand made a list. In the files, homicidal violence sits where cause of death should be, an official way to admit the desert did its work too well. The Mesa's first cruelty is hiding bodies. The second is worse, erasing answers. Albuquerque moved, a task force, a tip line, ground-penetrating radar, a reward that grew to $100,000. Nearly 1-200 tips, each a door that might be a wall. Families learned long grief rituals. Pressers need photos. Anniversaries need candles. Memorials need names. The city did one right thing stubbornly, made memory public, gathering victims into Women's Memorial Park so wind moves around them, not through them. 2 men rose and fell as almost answers. Lorenzo Montoya lived nearby. In 2006, he strangled a teenage girl and was shot dead by her boyfriend. After that, the disappearances stopped. But stopping isn't proving. No conclusive DNA ties him to the graves. Joseph Blay, a convicted rapist serving 90 years, cruised the corridors where women were last seen. He fits many stories. The Mesa won't say if it's his. Another problem colder than the sand, law. New Mexico limits uploading DNA from deceased suspects to CODIS if they weren't charged before death. If you want to compare Montoya's profile to other crimes, the database won't take it. Science waits for policy. Meanwhile, Remains condition limits lab extraction. Years don't help. Time is either solvent or glue. On the mesa, it's both. Picture the site: a stalled subdivision, a retention pond cut through an old arroyo, heavy equipment moving dirt where sidewalks would go. The development pause accidentally preserved the burial ground. A dog named Ruka scratched a decade of missing persons flyers into a map. Fate didn't solve anything. It revealed what had been arranged in silence. Detectives read the pattern like a transport crime. Victims taken from known strolls, moved to a place the killer could revisit unseen. That suggests a comfort radius and a schedule, a job with wheels, a life that could pass a midnight patrol with a nod. Grave layout hints at batches, not chaos. Hints aren't evidence. Evidence must speak in court. So the task force keeps auditing tips, retesting trace, re-interviewing survivors. When technology changes, they ask the same questions and listen for a different answer. The word serial tempts easy closure. Maybe one set of hands built this map. Maybe overlapping predators braided a year's worth of harm. Police chase trafficking rumors and itinerant abusers along Southwest circuits too. Threads aren't rope. What breaks this quiet? The same old gods: luck and labor, new saints, genealogy, trace re-extraction, toolmark networks. Luck looks like a relative's holiday DNA kit lighting a branch no one expected. Labor looks like a detective rereading a 2010 tip because a 2025 instrument finally exists. Policy looks like a legislature allowing a dead suspect's DNA to compare. Any of these would crack the mesa. All of them together would turn it into an address. Until then, Albuquerque holds the line. The wind carries less. The park carries more. West of the city, where the sun drops hard and fast, there's ground that remembers everything it was forced to keep. If you know why, say it. To the task force, to Crime Stoppers, to the only people who can turn Bone Collector back into a name. Uncaught doesn't always mean out there. It means unnamed. It means a blank line that keeps its shape year after year. A logo without a company, a bell without a customer, a field of flags with room for one more stake that says answer. Cases like these break the old-fashioned way, work and luck, and the modern way too. Genealogy, toolmark networks, retested trace, like a composite someone suddenly recognizes after 30 years. Sometimes it's smaller, a kitchen table confession that finally outweighs the secret keeping it down. If you have credible information, don't tell me. Tell the people who can move the folder. Local detectives, the task forces, the FBI tip line. Stories don't catch killers. People do. Until then, the crosshair hovers over a city that learns to live with it. The interstate keeps its rhythm, and the mesa holds heat after sunset. 3 names the dark still knows. 3 rooms with the lights off. We'll leave the door open.